So let's talk, brothers, let's talk about why social media is so bad for you. Because I feel like we've not discussed actually the issues with it. Because of course, so many people give you the classics like, oh, it makes your self-image bad, you're always comparing yourself to other people. It's kind of true, but also low-key, if I'm sat there scrolling fucking memes, I'm not like, oh, my life's so shit compared to the memes are. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think that's really one of the purported downsides to social media. But what is the biggest downside? And we go back to our old friend dopamine, my boys, dopamine. Do you remember dopamine? We spoke about him a little bit in the Why You Have to Quit Pornography videos, but it's essentially the same thing. When you're using social media, your brain is constantly releasing dopamine, little hits of dopamine every time you see a new post. Because apps are designed in that way that they'll give you a few boring things and then boom, there'll be something interesting. And that way dopamine, which is your anticipatory neurotransmitter, is constantly kind of going up and down and up and down because it's always anticipating that next thing that's kind of interesting for it. Maybe that's a booty pic, maybe that's the tits, I don't know, bro. Whatever floats your boat, but there'll be something on there that it knows you want to see and it'll keep just feeding you little drops of it. What does that do though? So what's the problem with having too much dopamine? Well, you have to understand the difference between phasic and tonic dopamine. Basically, phasic dopamine is dopamine that's released in response to a stimulus. So in response to a picture of a hot girl. It's not just about hot girls, by the way. If you see like a fucking news story that can release dopamine, all these things release dopamine in the same kind of way. But you have that kind of phasic dopamine release, but then you also have tonic dopamine release, which is just kind of like your body's baseline. It's what it releases without you having to do anything. Now, the problem is though, is when you experience a lot of phasic dopamine release, your body has to drop its tonic dopamine release to maintain homeostasis, which is your body's balance. And so your tonic dopamine drops. But what does that mean? Well, what it means is that you start feeling worse, generally speaking. Dopamine is responsible for so many things in the body. I mean, it's even been linked like to be responsible for things like movement, with when there's too little dopamine in something called the ventral striatum. But yeah, essentially dopamine is for that. It's for motivation. It's for general feelings of well-being. It's linked to things like libido. I mean, using too much social media can literally give you fucking erectile dysfunction, brother. I mean, that's an extreme, but it's bad. It's really fucking bad. So you need to quit this thing. And we're going to make videos on how to quit. But the main problem with using too much social media is that it is the dopamine use. But also there are these other subjective kind of downsides to it. And I mean, the biggest one is just that it uses so much fucking time. Like if you go on your screen time right now and check it, and check specifically the apps like Instagram, because the screen time, not all screen times are made equally, if you know what I mean. Like my screen time is maybe half an hour on my phone, but even that, the apps I use are good apps. It's like my fucking workout app, it's when I'm calling my parents on WhatsApp, stuff like that. So go and check your screen time and look specifically for Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, whatever. What is your use time on that? Because I'd be willing to bet it's more than a few hours. Now this is important for a couple of reasons. I mean, number one is that that is such a waste of time, brother. But number two is there was another study that showed that people, especially children that use social media or cell phones for more than 1 hour a day have significantly reduced attention spans, kind of like performance in various different academic tests. And for adults it's maybe about 2 hours. But still, these aren't targets to aim for. The lower you can get it down, the better you can kind of become at attention and focusing. Social media is destroying your brain. There are studies, so many studies now that have shown like different brain maps of people that are addicted to social media, because it is an addiction. And their brains look very similar to cocaine addicts, pornography addicts, because this is an addiction. So all these people that are doing fucking nofap and thinking that they're changing their lives, well, you're not really though, bro, because you're still on Instagram, TikTok, all these things that are doing exactly the same thing to your brain. So if you want to have any real change in your life, maybe the reason why nofap doesn't feel that great for you after the initial momentum has kind of worn off is because you're still addicted to social media. That is still a huge addiction. Social media is killing you, brother. I go home now and I see my fucking mum scrolling through Facebook on her phone. Social media has infiltrated every aspect of our lives and it is killing us. So you need to quit now. Anyway, if you gained any value from that video, drop a subscribe. I'm so happy to talk to you. I'll see you again tomorrow in the next video. Manifest excellence, brother. I'm so proud of you. Goodbye.